In this short video, I will give you step-by-step instructions to give you the knowledge, a tools list, and torque specs to get the job done. If this video is helpful and saves you time, please subscribe and leave a comment below. Thanks for watching. In this video, I'll be showing you how to replace a front wheel bearing in a 2015 Ford Escape. This video will also work for a 2013 through a 2019. First thing you're going to want to do is raise the vehicle up. Then remove the lug nuts. These are a 19mm. Then we're going to be removing the brake caliper. These are an 18mm. Then unplug the ABS wire by pushing in this clip and pulling on it. Then hang the brake caliper up out of the way. Now remove your brake rotor. Then remove this lower bolt that holds the lower ball joint in place. The bolt is a 15mm and the nut is an 18mm. Then remove this lower strut bolt. This is a 15mm. Now remove the spindle nut. This is a 32mm. Now check to make sure your CV axle moves freely. Take the tie rod stud off. This is a 15mm. Now remove these three 10mm bolts that hold the dust shield on. Now use a long pry bar to pull down the lower control arm to get the lower ball joint out. Now use a hammer and tap on the upper steering knuckle to remove it from the strut. Now you can remove the knuckle assembly from the car. Now here's the part number for the wheel bearing we'll be replacing. I also have a video on the CV axle. Here's the part number for that as well. Here's what the wheel bearing looks like. This is a pressed-in wheel bearing. You're going to need a press or a wheel bearing removal tool to install this wheel bearing. So to get started, the first thing we're going to press out is the hub. Find a socket that fits on the hub to press it out. Then make sure on the bottom the hub isn't touching anything as you're pressing it out. We used a couple of 6x6s to hold it up. Then once you get it out, part of the bearing will still be on the hub, but I'll show you an easy trick how to get this off later. Then you're going to want to remove this ABS sensor. This is a Torx T25. Gently wiggle it back and forth and maybe even use a little pry tool to pry it up, but be careful because these break pretty easy. Then once you get that out, use a C-clip pliers to pull out the C-clip. Then to get the bearing out, you can either use the press again or this wheel bearing removal tool. And a helpful tip, anytime you're pressing something out, what you can do is take a hammer and hit on it on the steering knuckle. You don't have to hit it on the wheel bearing itself, but just hit on the steering knuckle and the shock of it will help pull it out. This will also work for pressing out ball joints or bushings. Then once the wheel bearing's out, take a scuff pad and clean up where the bearing was in place. Then anytime you're installing a wheel bearing, use the old one as the press. Put it up on top, press it in with that. That way it's the same size as the outer diameter. That's where you want to push on, is the outside rim. Do not push on the inside of the wheel bearing or you will destroy it. Then once you have it in place, use the C-clip pliers to put the C-clip back in. Leave the open space where the sensor goes in. Now you can reinstall your sensor. Now to get that wheel bearing ring off the hub, what you're going to do is take your cutoff wheel, take the smallest blade you have. I usually keep a couple extras that I wear down for this, and you're going to grind down on the piece of the bearing just before you touch on the hub on both ends. Take your time at this so you don't scar it. Then take your air chisel and chisel on that part that you just cut until it moves, and what it'll do is crack in half at that point. And now you can take your air chisel and just gently push it off the end. It'll come off pretty easily now. And once you get it off, clean it up with a scuff pad. And now to press the hub in, what you're going to do is line it up on your press again, and you don't want to just have it held up by the steering knuckle like we did when we pressed it out. What you're going to want to do is take a smaller socket and put on the inner ring of the wheel bearing, not the outer part like we did before. Again, if you don't do this correctly, this will destroy the wheel bearing. Once it bottoms out, you know you have it in all the way. Spin it by hand and make sure it's working properly. And now we can reinstall the steering knuckle back onto the vehicle. Start by installing the steering knuckle back up onto the strut. Use a long chisel and just hit on it here until it goes back up in place. It's hard to see, but on the back side there's this little notch that the strut will go into the steering knuckle. Take it all the way up until it bottoms out. Then install your bolt and tighten it up. This is torqued to 59 foot-pounds, then 180 degrees. Then get your CV axle through and get your bottom ball joint back in. You might need to use a pry bar again to hold the control arm down to get it in place. Then put your bolt for your ball joint back in. This is torqued to 61 foot-pounds. Then reinstall this dust shield. Put your tie rod back in. You can torque this to 35 foot-pounds. Then plug your ABS sensor back in. Put your brake rotor back on. Then reinstall your brake caliper. Torque these bolts to 129 foot-pounds. Then you can put your spindle nut back on. This is torqued to 59 foot-pounds. Then an additional 90 degrees. Then you can put your wheel back on, torque your lug nuts to 100 foot-pounds. Thanks for watching the video. Please like and subscribe to get more short and to the point how-to videos like this that saves you time so you can get more done.